a moment with nature. A brief time with a mind fascinated by the natural world. I'm doing something I do sometimes. I'm just standing still in the woods and seeing what I can see and hear. There are quite a few birds around, though most of them in the distance, so I'll try and boost the sound a little bit on the podcast so you can hear a few of them. Crows. A raven has just gone overhead. There's chaffinches. Little blue-tit has just flown into the tree above me. But I confess I'm very bad at birdsong. Some of them are easy, like I know a robin, I know a blackbird, and the yaffle of a green woodpecker, and obviously the drumming of a woodpecker. I know the sound of a raven, and the crows, and the cackle of jackdaws. That was a crow. But no, it wasn't, that was a jackdaw. But they're the little ones, the little warblers that are small and often brown and hard to spot, I find are really tricky. And to be honest, the only way I've actually found to learn them is to go out and watch and see if I can spot the bird that's making the sound and actually watch it with its beak open. In that way, I've learnt great tits, I've learnt chiff-chaffs, I've learnt blue tits, I've learnt wagtails and long-tailed tits, which I love. There are flocks of long-tailed tits around here. But there's still plenty more that I've got to learn, because you see blackcaps, you see goldfinches, greenfinches, a huge variety of birds. They're not at their peak yet. They've still got a little way to go before they all start singing. But the best time to come and see if you can spot birds and work out which ones are making which noise is between now and about April, May, because they're easier to see in the trees when there's no leaves on them. The bare branches of the trees are much easier to spot. By the time the leaves are out, these little things are very adept at hiding, and I find them very, very hard to watch. But there has been a lot of bird activity, and I look forward to it starting up even more. Over the sound of the waterfall, there's... Oh, everybody started up now. There's the woodpecker, which I've now heard for 4 days in a row. There's a great tit tweeting over to my right, and to my left, there's a thin, reedy call, occasional, which I think is a blue tit, though I have to confess I'm not always very good at birdsong. I actually literally have to catch the birds in action in order to make sure I really am certain that the bird making the noise is the noise is being made by the bird I think it's being made. Now that's what I call a woodpecker. This week has seen a real increase in the number of birds calling. There's a robin. Now you can hear robins calling at any time of year, but I've heard woodpeckers drumming, I've heard blackbirds doing their territorial call, I've heard great tits, I've heard blue tits. It's quite clear that there's enough of a spring-like feel in the air for the birds to say, right, let's start to get thinking about breeding, basically. I have to say I love this. There's a blackbird sitting right at the top of a big tree just there. It's not saying anything at the moment. Oh, can you hear the sparrows cheeping behind me? There's a big flock of sparrows around here, and I have to say I find sparrows brilliant birds. They're funny. They wander around in family groups and they bicker and squabble. It makes me laugh, actually. But it's very clear that there's enough of a feel of a spring in the air for the birds to get going on their breeding cycle. 2 days ago, I was walking along this stretch of path, and just here, I looked to my right and went, that's odd. Now, I'll tell you what I thought was odd in a moment, but I'm a scientist by training, and for the last 30-odd years I've been a science journalist and a science teacher, and really immersed in the world of science in lots of different ways, which I passionately love. And I've always maintained the most interesting and important words in science are, that's odd, because that means there is something worth investigating. So let me just walk down through, the broken branches on the wood floor, lots of bright green moss, various bits of brambles, and come and talk about what I found. It's a plant I've not seen before. I think, to be honest, it's a garden escapee. I don't think it's native. But what's intriguing me about it is how on earth I could have missed it. Because it's not a little discreet thing just sort of hiding away amongst all the other forest or woodland floor plants. It's pretty big. It stands about 2.5 meters tall. About 1.5 meters wide, fairly sprawling. It's clearly an evergreen, and it's got some buds on it, and I'm really rather surprised I haven't seen it before, but it just goes to show there are always things to find, whether large or small. Now, I don't know what it is. It looks a little laurel-like, but not like a classic laurel. It's got large, elongated leaves, about 15 centimetres, 6 inches long, maybe a bit shorter. They are oval with very slightly serrated edges and a tiny little sort of point at the end. They're sort of rhododendron-like in the fact that they're all bright green at the moment, but they're definitely not a rhododendron. And in my defence, it is actually growing right in the heart of a hazel tree. So in the middle of summer, the hazel tree will be in leaf and it may not be so obvious. But it really is quite a big thing and quite a surprising thing to find. Now, I don't know what it is. I will do my best to identify it. But I will also put a couple of pictures of it on my Twitter feed, which is nature_moment, and if anybody out there can recognise it and identify it for me, that'd be grateful. As I said, my gut feeling is some form of laurel, but I really don't know what type. And there you go. There are surprises at every turn. I must have been past this plant 1,000 times and never noticed it before, and here I just have. The music was Nature Watch by Oleski, downloaded from Pixabay. The graphics were done by Dillis, and everything else was done by me, Toby Murcott.